Hey everyone, and welcome to the 5 Bytes Podcast. I'm your host, Rory Monahan, and the podcast, as always, is brought to you by my sponsors. That includes Numecent, the inventors of the first and only cloud-native container management platform for Windows desktops. And of course, also brought to you by Master Packager, an application packaging software that helps you build packages that end users love, enterprises want, and the Windows OS needs. If you enjoy the show each week, you have these awesome sponsors to thank. And now for some news. Russian airline Aeroflot was forced to cancel more than 50 round-trip flights on Monday alone, and even more on Tuesday, after a crippling cyber attack that was being claimed by Ukrainian cyber gangs. Researching for this story was interesting. Perhaps due to living in Ireland, most of the sources I got were Ukrainian, and there were quite a few claims like the fact that Aeroflot had systems running Windows XP, and suggestions their CEO had not changed passwords in 3 years. At the time of recording this episode, Aeroflot did not say how long the problem would take to resolve, so it seems to be having a long-lasting impact on the operations of the airline, which is not surprising. I did try to look at other resources like Reuters and some of the mainstream media outlets for confirmation on the claims of XP and passwords not changed in 3 years, but did not see everyone reporting that. So take that with a pinch of salt. But one thing is for sure, this airline has been crippled by a cyber attack. According to Ars Technica, some VMware perpetual license holders are currently unable to download security patches with the notice that they will receive the patches at a later date. When reached for comment, a Broadcom spokesperson told Ars Technica that nothing has changed in Broadcom's commitment regarding critical VMware security patches. Users of legacy VMware products who no longer have active maintenance and support entitlements will have free access to critical security patches for as long as those products remain supported by Broadcom. This includes the patches for critical vulnerabilities addressed in VMware Security Advisory 2025-0013. They went on to say because the support portal requires validation of customer entitlements for software patches, only entitled customers have access to the patches at this time. VMware's rep told Ars Technica that affected customers will receive the patches at a later date via a separate patch delivery cycle, but did not specify when, bringing uncertainty to the security risk facing these users. And this is off the back of 3 critical vulnerabilities being disclosed on July 15th. So they really need to get the thumb out and resolve this quickly. And Broadcom has said this is due to a lack of, flexibility in their portal, which I believe because they moved the software behind the Broadcom support portal, and it is vastly different to the old VMware portal, and it's not quite as publicly accessible anymore. So I believe it, but hey, no excuses. You got to get this sorted quickly. Microsoft confirmed an infrastructure degradation issue on July 24th that prevented administrators from accessing the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. This was reported on by bleepycomputer.com, but can also be viewed with incident MO1120879 in the Microsoft Admin Center. After close to 90 minutes of the service being affected, Microsoft did restore things by rerouting traffic to alternate healthy service infrastructure. So if you did notice issues on the 24th, well, those should long since have been resolved, and the reason was there was degradation of the infrastructure. My guess is probably a patch gone wrong that was trickling out, and then they rerouted to the unpatched servers or infrastructure. The governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, has activated the National Guard in response to a crippling cyber attack that struck the city of St. Paul, which is the state's capital, last Friday. The city is currently working with local, state, and federal partners to investigate the attack and restore full functionality, and says that emergency services have been unaffected. However, online payments are currently unavailable, and some services in libraries and recreation centers are temporarily unavailable. St. Paul officials stated the extent of the attacks exceeded both internal and commercial response capabilities, thus why they're calling in the National Guard, according to bleepycomputer.com. The state claims the move will ensure the continuity of vital services for St. Paul residents, as well as their security and safety while ongoing disruptions are being mitigated. The UK's age verification to access sites with adult content, including the likes of Reddit, has been exposed as having some major holes and blind spots. Some sites are opting to implement the face scan verification process rather than, say, requiring a credit card. But pretty quickly, gamers found a way to game the system by using video game character models to get past the checks. For instance, the game Death Stranding has a photo mode, which some have been using to submit character selfies that trick AI into estimating adult ages. There are also claims of people tricking it with other video game characters like from the WWE games too. The face scan approach has also been blasted for essentially banning blind people from half of the internet because they can't use the verification system. Search terms for VPNs also skyrocketed as the age verification process came into being. And I know Ireland, where I live, has been toying with the idea of age verification, and I believe Australia has brought in some of their own legislation around protecting children from social media, including YouTube. So it's pretty interesting to see the waters being tested and also to see the obvious limitations and problems with the rollout. I think this may be part of the problem when legislators are making up rules or laws and policies, but they don't really understand technology. So not saying that they completely dictated how this had to be rolled out. I'm sure technical people were in the mix, but it's just going to be very difficult to make this 100% foolproof. BleepComputer.com reported that attackers could use a recently patched macOS vulnerability to bypass the transparency, consent, and control security checks and steal sensitive user information, including Apple Intelligence cached data. Apple has fixed the security flaw and is tracked as CVE-2025-31199. This was patched back in March for macOS Sequoia 15.4 with improved data redaction. A report published stated that the vulnerability could be exploited to harvest valuable data, including the Apple Intelligence-related information and remote information of other iCloud account-linked devices. So it seems like this is not just unique, I guess, to macOS. It could spread using iCloud and perhaps gain information that you've interacted with or created or stored in your iCloud via your other devices too. My employer and show sponsor just announced that Numecent Cloud Paging Player now supports Windows on ARM natively. This will enable customers to lift and shift all your application containers, including those for your legacy applications like your x86 and x64 applications, and bring them forward to your ARM-based devices by dynamically delivering them with Cloud Paging Server, or of course, the Cloud Native Container Management Platform that I mention at the beginning of every show, Cloud Pager. But not only can you bring forward these applications quite easily without having to go through rework, just dynamically deploy them like you do on any traditional Windows desktop you do today onto your ARM devices. You can also potentially, if you need to, package some of those ARM64 applications into Cloud Paging application containers and deploy those just like your x86 and x64 applications as well. And if you'd like to learn more about the Windows on ARM support, you can join a webinar on August 26th. It's at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which I believe is 6 p.m. Irish summertime or British summertime, so 7 p.m. Central European time, maybe a little bit late, so you may want to register just so you can get the on-demand recording to watch back if it's not in a region that is favorable time-wise. And if you'd like to read more about the announcement, I'll share a link to it with this episode, which is episode 397, and you can find that at 5bytespodcast.com. BleepyComputer.com reported that Microsoft has removed a compatibility hold that prevented some easy anti-cheat users from installing the Windows 11 2024 update because of a known issue that triggers restarts with blue screen of death errors. Now, obviously, this is not going to be something that impacts widely enterprises, but if you're supporting people with BYOD and they happen to use their devices for gaming, then maybe that is something that has been affecting them, but it's unlikely to cause an enterprise problem. In some other quick hit stories, just a reminder that the last supported editions of Windows 11 22H2 will be reaching their end of servicing on October 14th. So if you haven't upgraded yet, now is the time. In a very quick one, Windows 10 officially reached 10 years of age. Pretty incredible that the OS has been around for 10 years, and I'm still a fan. I think it's still a pretty solid operating system, and I know several people feel the same. NeoWin.net reported that Google NotebookLM, a popular AI research assistant tool, is launching video overviews. This is to add to their already existent audio overviews. And the video overviews were first revealed during Google I/O earlier this year. Currently, NotebookLM's video overview can generate narrated slides, but Google plans to support more formats in future. When a user generates a video overview, an AI host pulls in images, diagrams, quotes, and numbers from the source content and explains them with background audio. Google is also allowing users to customize video overviews based on their needs. Users can specify topics to focus on, define the target audience, and more. This new video overviews feature in NotebookLM is now rolling out to all users in English. Google will be adding support for more languages in the near future. In addition to video overviews, NotebookLM is also getting a redesigned studio experience. So previously, NotebookLM allowed users to transform their source material into different formats like audio overviews, like I said, but also mind maps and study guides, but they could only create one of each per notebook, and that is now going to be expanded and be less limiting. Sounds kind of cool. I bet it's got to be more useful than a Copilot in PowerPoint. You know, when you ask it to create a slide deck or change things, in my opinion, it still does a pretty poor job. So I'd be interested to see how effective this is. OpenAI has revealed ChatGPT Agent, and it's now rolling out to users with the $20 plus subscription. So ChatGPT Agent I spoke about briefly last week, although listening back, I think I misconstrued it. Which, funny, I think at the end of last week's episode, I said I tried to use AI to generate the script by feeding it all of the links and stuff that I wanted to cover on the episode, and it just failed miserably. And then I said, well, one good thing was I could take the existing script that I created and just ask it to be more concise, and it seemed to do a good job on that. But having listened back, I think it didn't do a very good job on the story about the ChatGPT agent. So I apologize on that. And this week, I'm not even trying to use it to make the script more concise. I'm just rolling with my old process again. But regardless, with the agent, ChatGPT can now do work for you using its own computer, and this includes handling complex tasks from start to finish reportedly. Agent mode allows GPT to handle requests like look at my calendar and brief me on upcoming client meetings based on recent news, plan and buy ingredients to make a Japanese breakfast for four, and analyze 3 competitors and create a slide deck. ChatGPT agents use a computer and browser to open websites, navigate like a human does, and even log in to the website when needed, which, as I said last week, it sounded a little bit like robotic process automation, but yeah, it's not necessarily, I guess, having system-wide permissions, at least not on your system like Microsoft Recall is, but it looks like it's going to be able to do quite a bit, all dependent on what you ask it to do, I guess. And this does raise some concerns at the level of access it can have to some of your critical data and workflows. So I would maybe advise some caution and be careful of what you use it for. And a Reddit user noted that the ChatGPT agent nonchalantly bypasses CAPTCHAs that ask if you're a human, with people being amused that ChatGPT identifies as a human rather than a bot in that scenario. So it's able to just say, nah, I'm not a bot, I'm a human, and bypasses the CAPTCHA. So I guess those CAPTCHAs are pretty much redundant now. It would be interesting to see if they do make the leap to make this something that you could run locally, like with the local AI instance, or Failing that, if OpenAI doesn't, if someone else will step into the mix and do that. Another new feature announced by OpenAI in ChatGPT is called Study Mode. When students use ChatGPT in study mode, they'll receive guiding questions tailored to their goals and skill level, helping them develop a deeper understanding of the subject. So it's not simply a case of just giving the answer, it's essentially giving the path to getting the answer as well. OpenAI say they've collaborated with teachers, scientists, and experts to develop the custom system instructions that power the study mode. ChatGPT Study Mode comes with some features including interactive prompts, which combines Socratic questioning hints and self-reflection prompts to guide understanding and promote active learning instead of providing answers outright. Scaffolded responses. Information is organized into easy-to-follow sections that highlight the key connections between topics, keeping information engaging with just the right amount of context and reducing overwhelming complex topics. Personalized support, where lessons are tailored to the right level for the user based on questions that assesses skill level and memory from previous chats. Knowledge checks, so quizzes and open-ended questions along with personalized feedback to track progress. NewIn.net reported that the study mode feature is available to all logged-in ChatGPT users on free, Plus, Pro, and Teams plans. It'll also be available for ChatGPT EDU users in the next few weeks. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman recently said that GPT-5 feels very fast and testing it made him feel nervous. He even compared it to the Manhattan Project. This kind of hyperbole has been bandied about by Altman in the past about some of the other models that have already come. So I would say take this one with a pinch of salt. I mean, this is kind of just a marketing exercise, right? And he's kind of played on fears and that, oh, this AI is going to be so powerful that it's a threat to humanity. And so far, at least in my experience, ChatGPT is just a very confident liar, and they can come up with half-truths and incorrect answers very quickly. So it does have uses. It still is very powerful technology, obviously, but yeah, you just need to use it properly, I guess. The Register reported on a Microsoft paper that has been published that speculates on the most and least affected jobs due to the, I guess, growth of AI. And according to the paper, the top 10 jobs where AI applicability overlaps the most with expected tasks are interpreters and translators, historians, passenger attendants, sales representatives of services, writers and authors, customer service representatives, CNC tool programmers, telephone operators, ticket agents, and travel clerks, and broadcast announcers and radio DJs. Man, I've got some opinions on this one, but first, the 10 occupations least exposed to AI include, apparently, logging equipment operators, motorboat operators, orderlies, floor sanders and finishers, pile driver operators, rail track laying and maintenance equipment operators, foundry mold and core makers, water treatment plant and system operators, bridge and lock tenders, and dredge operators. The researchers say their findings do not mean that AI will be able to perform all the tasks expected for a given occupation, just that those are the tasks, I guess, with the greatest overlap in terms of capability. So in some regards, it means that maybe humans would be able to use AI the most effectively in those roles rather than have those roles replaced with AI, although it has been inferred by others that this means that those jobs are, I guess, the most at threat from AI. So yeah, I'd have some opinions on that, like writers and authors, for example. Yeah, AI can help you write, but it's usually trash. It's robotic. It's terrible. I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school by saying that, and I'm sure people share that opinion with me. Plus, if I'm reading something, like taking the time to read a book, I am connecting with what the author is saying, and if I know the author's AI, that connection's not really going to be there because it's not human to human, in my opinion. Also, broadcast announcers and radio DJs, AI slop is pretty garbage. You know, I don't know if you guys see it on social media, but there's a bunch of like fake AI newsreels and all this stuff on social media sites. And Like the idea is, oh, look how realistic it is. And then there's the kind of pivot at the end to show that it's something like really ridiculous happening and therefore it's AI. And haha, tricked you. It was AI all along. But I'm sure I'm not the only one again. But anytime I see these videos pop up, I know right away that it's AI. Like it's too polished. It just doesn't look right. Historians is the one that like stuck out the most to me because this is a huge blind spot of ChatGPT and other Gen AI services. Is their history is gleaned from data, and the bulk of the data that it's provided comes from obviously biased sources. So if you're to ask about something that happened in history, you're going to get maybe like an American or British or like a European centric take on the history. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's accurate. So there's a huge risk in, I guess, AI being the historians of the future, in my opinion. But anyway, I'll share a link to the article from the Register, which also has a link in it for the actual study if you want to read it for yourself. And you can find that at 5bytespodcast.com with this episode. But now this episode's scripts, tricks, and tips. I saw this first one on a Reddit post this week, but there's something called NetDisco that I was not aware of, and it is a web-based network management tool suitable for small to large networks. With it, IP and MAC address data is collected into a database using SNMP, CLI, or device APIs, and it looks like you're able to generate reports and basically correlate all kinds of useful data that could be very impactful in an enterprise. Finally, on the episode this week, I saw neowin.net had an interesting article linking to a Microsoft, I guess, I don't know, it's best practices, kind of more a useful guide from Microsoft on how you can use Intune to migrate from Windows 10 to Windows 11. I figured it's still somewhat topical because a lot of enterprises have yet to make the migration from Windows 10 to Windows 11, and the clock is ticking on the end of support. But that's it for this episode of the podcast. Thanks, as always, for listening.